Well, you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, it's part of the show. Didn't they teach you to reach for the stars while opening up the bars and keeping you chained down with mortgage bills and cars? Vaccines for your arms, kids sounding like supercharged, caffeinated hate-filled scars and rage-quit repertoires. No answers for yards, caught up in emotion that's not even yours. Imposter truths like impeccable retards, lined up for your serving of gish gallop and wars. No remedy can save the lost, in love with the yarn. I'm tired of walking into refracted shards, poor science displayed by disgusting bards. Soaked in sin with your dupe is delight in a new hand of cards. Been so long, seems like for love I'm just too hard, I'm just too hard. I said, welcome to the show, where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, you don't know. Intoxicated eight makes you believe you're spinning in space while you have no shame or grace. It's a disdainful state I used to contemplate, how to save myself from my own self-hate. Wonder why I was even made with a dreadful fate, forced to try and awake with a full plate. No one to help me stay awake or educate. I've had to liberate and fight through hidden gates. But my brother, heaven could never be late, and rockets don't work in space. It's all fake, the show is on Mars. It's a joke, but you're too far gone, it won't be long. Fepe's beak is strong. We have our song and we march along like streams of knowledge leading to God's holy pond, and lives of truth that hits the bong and sings the song, turns mankind from the wrong. We come in peace with a holy gown and all of us wearing our holy crowns. So the earth is flat and we probably just won't get along, just to go along. I said, welcome to the show, where you don't know if it's part of the show. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, you don't know.
Hopefully that's what we're trying to do tonight. That is the mission and the goal tonight, is to show this extremely simple concept. I mean, if you try to explain this to a child without telling them what each ball was, you know, this isn't the Earth, this isn't the Moon, this isn't the Sun, this is just a spotlight, and this is two spheres. They can get it straight off. My children, for example, you know, 10s, 11s, they, every time they see an impossible moon phase, they point it out now. They know what an impossible moon phase is and why it's impossible. In fact, actually, I don't know if they do know why it's impossible, but they can certainly spot the impossible moon phases and point them out. So if you want to share your screen, Adam, then...
Bear with.
Okay. There's a slide I've never seen before.
First, it's your intro slide. You just forgot it, haven't you? Because we haven't done that since...
What, the Pokemon thing?
Oh, that was my screensaver. Get the Pokemon. That's
Okay,
a Pokemon
right.
dressed up as the Emperor with
back.
a Pokeball representing a Death Star. But ignore that, it's from my kids.
Right, so the idea was to keep this presentation as concise and as close to the ball as possible. Okay, moving on.
Not the Pokeball. Start again. There's your title. Go, Savage.
So we've got a simple question to ask if the slide will ever change. And there it is. So how do we see a nearly full moon during the day or a crescent moon during the night? Answers on a postcard, please, but next. Right, so there's a little bit of background here. Adam, you can annotate.
Well, for me, this bit is just like, take yourself through the simple principles of the heliocentric model. So let's just get some basic assertions down from their model so that we can understand it. This is principle 1, isn't it?
So it says the Earth takes 1 day to make a complete rotation upon its axis. During this time, different parts of the Earth have day and night. No, hopefully we're not stressing the listeners too far yet. So the moon phases, it's a replica of what you can find if you go to a search engine and type in moon phases, how do they work? This is the sort of image you're going to find. So moon phases depend on its position, basically the moon's position relative to the sun as we see it from Earth.
This is just a rough approximation, isn't it, of the moon phases as they're demonstrating. And we're going to explain this diagram a little bit more as we go through it, really.
Okay, moving on. Right. So according to their model, in order for the moon to appear as a crescent, right, it is based on the angle of the sunlight reflection. It'd have to be located somewhere along the red lines, right? And I want people to take note that the red lines and the day and night of Earth. So you have basically what we're pointing out here is that you should only really see a crescent moon based on its angle of sunlight reflection in the daytime. So on the daylight side of the Earth. So next slide. And similarly, this is where you would see these are the only two positions that you should see the half moon or the quarter moon or whatever they want to call it. So a half moon would have to be located in one of these two positions. So that would essentially be, well, would I be right in saying that's sunset and sunrise? You'd only see a half moon.
Yeah, and the visible hours around that. Where that becomes where the moon becomes visible based on its location.
So certainly not at midday or midnight anyway. But moving on to the next one, and this is similar with the gibbous moon. Gibbous meaning more than half lit. So similarly, the gibbous moon would only be able to be made taking the sun's reflection off the moon and your position on Earth. You would only be able to see a gibbous moon in the nighttime along these red lines. The gap in the middle is obviously for the full moon, which isn't a gibbous. Next one. Right, so what we're showing here then, Adam?
For me, this is kind of to represent during roughly during the monthly cycle, the relative positions of the sun, excuse me, moon and Earth. So you can see that at the new moon, where the new moon is, if we get our waxing crescent, you can see it's at the beginning of the month. Where we've got the first half moon, this is where the relative positions will be. Ignore the scale, and we're gonna
hold on, but this would be the beginning of a month, not the month. It's not like this every month.
A lunar month, so it's not a full 28 days, hence the little roughly.
Yeah, this is just a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
It's not every month. Anyway, I think we're complicating it slightly on that front. Can we go on the next slide? This is what we should see, basically. This is what is described by all, NASA pictures and I think physics websites, etc.
This is the standard diagram, isn't it? So that obviously here, when we've got the full moon, we're halfway through the lunar month, and that it follows round relative, so that we get the last quarter half moon 3/4 of the way through the lunar month, and then it comes to the waning crescent.
The important thing on this picture is to note that in the daytime, as you see from the Earth, in the daytime, if you looked up, you'll see a crescent. At nighttime, if you look up, you'll see a gibbous or a full. Okay. So we're going to go on to highlight. This shows us, this is how modern education teaches what the visible horizon is. So it's, what is that?
I stole this from the astronomy explain, whatever that website was, but it's a basic explanation of your astronomy from the Earth, and the purpose of the red lines and that, which I've simplified, is really to show how the observer will take angles of observation and how they then can translate those observed angles from this visible horizon and then recalculate the angle so that the angle is relevant to the center point of the Earth based on the celestial horizon. And that's really there for astronomical purposes. But the purpose of this is to show that even they recognize that the visible horizon, i.e. what you can see on their model, is limited to what's above the yellow line.
Yeah, absolutely. Going on.
Got your crescent.
Right, so this is showing the visible horizon at midnight. And it's showing the relative position of the moon and the sun, obviously not to scale. And it's basically highlighting the fact that if you're seeing a crescent moon, it's under that visible horizon. It can't be above that visible horizon and work on their model, because the sunlight reflecting off that object they call the moon and your position on Earth can never show you a crescent model at night. Next slide.
Well, the next slide.
Murdering this.
The next slide is what me and you, what did my head in, because my ball of training kind of maybe went, yeah, but John, look at that diagram. It's not to scale. Look, the moon's this far away, the sun's that far away, and it means you'll eventually see it. And we messed it. Was it on Zoom? We did it because of their little drawing thing.
Yeah, a annotation thing.
Yeah, and you beat it into me. And so the next diagram really was what I put together to kind of explain that it doesn't matter what the scale is, it doesn't matter how far away you move it. In actual fact, you know, the relative distance from the diagrams do it a favor. The further away you get, the actual further below in miles it becomes below the visible horizon.
Okay, next slide. There you go. Right, so that's what that is basically saying, that scale or distance doesn't affect the position in the visible horizon. You still have that hard yellow line that is your visible horizon. Anything below that line you are not going to see. And this is on a billiard ball Earth. If you've got a mountain or a tree or a town next to you in your vicinity, then your visible horizon is going to be even less than that. This is best case scenario. So yeah, moving on.
Well, I'm just going to go back forwards even. I'm just going to go back to this one where I mentioned the visible horizon, celestial horizon. The angle that we're talking about here of the moon, and the angle we're talking here is that backward calculation or the assumed position on their model. So that is the point, that it you know, you did slap me with it, John. It did me head in for a bit because I couldn't comprehend it. That was my moment where I went, oh, bloody hell, of course, yeah.
Right. Everybody's had some of that on this. That's awesome.
It doesn't matter how far away it is, it's not going to bring it back above the visible horizon. So, yeah, that's my confessional moment.
Yeah, I'm still not getting it. What I'm not getting that wow moment. But why can't those moons be back this way a bit?
Right. Just
why can't they be down a bit so the viewer from in the dark at midnight?
Well,
so if you move the moons, if you move the moons towards the visible horizon, yeah, is that what you're saying? Then the phase of the moon would change. When that moon hits the celestial horizon, which is halfway through the ball, then all you could possibly ever see is a half moon or quarter moon or whatever they want to call it. Right. So what Adam's drawn here on this line coming out is when it appears as a crescent moon. Anyway, let's move on, because the actual aha isn't that difficult. You're probably trying to see things that are more complicated than they are. So this is the next one, is the scale and distance. Again, it doesn't affect it. What affects what you see is the position of the moon and the sun as you see it from Earth. And as you can see on this slide, you would only ever see a gibbous moon, which is what we're looking at, on the night side of the Earth, right? So the guy where the yellow line is drawn for the visible horizon, that's 12 o'clock midday for him. So anything below that yellow line to the right-hand side, i.e. the moon, is absolutely not going to be seen as a gibbous moon. So this is it. So how can we ever see a gibbous moon during the day or a crescent moon during the night? bearing in mind that we see those shapes because of the position of the moon in relation to where we're viewing it and the sun reflecting off it. So is there another slide or not? Is that the last? And yet, this is what we see. We see gibbous moons during the day all the time, and we see crescent moons at night time all of the time. Now, the reason I'm raising this is because if you can stop sharing your screen, Adam. Okay, so there's a time coming up, March 15th. And on March 15th, we should be able to see a gibbous moon at exactly 12 o'clock midday. Right? And what this means is March 15th. This guy here is at midday, and this is his visible horizon. And what's going to be visible to him at midday is a gibbous moon.
But you see the gibbous moon for the whole time it's in the sky for you at that time. It doesn't just. It's not only there for 1 minute. It's there for the whole day.
What creates the gibbous moon, Rob?
According to them, the sunlight.
Yeah, but it has to be at a certain position around the ball, doesn't it? So let me try and explain.
Okay,
so that's a crescent moon, right? And it's caused because the moon is between her head, which is the main shot, and the sun. And you see she's looking at the sun, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a crescent, and that's how it's formed. And this is a gibbous.
Video.
You see the back of her head is facing the sun, and it's out towards it. That is how you create the gibbous moon. So to see a gibbous moon, during the day when she's looking at the light, is impossible, is what I'm saying. She can't create a gibbous moon whilst looking at the light, during the day. So the fact that we see gibbous moons during the day and crescent moons during the night is an impossibility on their model, is what I'm saying. And how I'm going to prove that is the March the 15th and May the 10th. So this is March 15th. You have a gibbous moon that you shouldn't be able to see during the day, and yet you can see it from 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, all the way through. And then we have on the 10th of May, and there's another one on the 8th of June, I think, as well, where you see a crescent moon, which you should never be able to see at night, and you can see it all the way up through midnight.
Yeah, I listened to these guys talk about this for a while.
And then
I had no clue what they were talking about. It's like, yeah, okay, so what? I see that. And then all of a sudden, it's the midday part. You have to concentrate on what you should see at midday or midnight. When, either the sun is directly above you or directly on the opposite side of you. You shouldn't see certain types of moons then, because the sunlight only creates those certain types of moons when it's either on this side of you, like between you and the sun, or on the opposite side, where you're in the center, between you and you're between the moon and the sun. That's when you have your gibbous, when it's real big. And then when you're directly in between it, it's a full moon. So you should never see a gibbous when the moon is in between you and the sun. It should not happen. It should only be a crescented moon. Like right after the new moon, it's always, you see the crescent on either side. Whether it's going towards the new moon or away from the new moon, it's always a crescent.
Rob, let's just transition. Walt, shall I play this video now, yeah?
Yeah, sure. Whenever you want to.
Is this this might help a bit? Is
It's
this
the first run, and it may not even look right, but I was trying to demonstrate what we're talking about for John, for sure.
God bless you, Walt.
The point is, you're going round there, and your head is always facing the moon to demonstrate the phases. But if your head then stop that phases, so if I stop it, the Walt gets a bit of a. Oh,
Keep this on a loop, mate, because I've only just managed to.
Yeah, the first time I did it in stops at each section just to show, and then the second and third time I just did a steady around and around to kind of show how it phases in and out, so that at some point you'll go, oh, right there, it shouldn't even ever be gibbous, or it should never be crescent behind you, or any of that. You know, you'll see it eventually.
Awesome. That really is cool.
Okay, we're gonna see if this works.
of
Okay,
course.
Rob, do you see the marshmallow?
Yeah.
I am in between the light source and the marshmallow. So
Oh, hold on.
The moon is the marshmallow.
Are you sharing now?
So the marshmallow is the moon, and our light source will be the top of the garage there, that light. So we have a full moon when I am directly in between the marshmallow or the moon and the sun, right?
And you are Earth.
Yeah, I am Earth. Now, if I move it over this way, part of the marshmallow, we'll say it's a gibbous now because part of it is being shadowed. And it's still, I am somewhat still in between the light source and the moon, the sun and the moon. Now, when we go to make me and the moon even with the sun, it's a half a marshmallow now. So as long as I am in between the moon and the sun, it should be bigger than half a marshmallow or half a moon, always, whenever I'm in between it. Now, when I go and make the marshmallow closer, the line will get even smaller and smaller as I get closer to the sun until it gets to halfway point again. It'll start getting smaller. The crescent will always get smaller when the moon is in between you and the sun.
And take note that you are now in the daylight. You are now at daytime.
Yeah, now I'm at daytime. Yeah, I'm looking at the sun. So that's your new moon right there. And then it starts crescenting and you can see it.
And that's all you should ever see.
So the crescent always happens. Yeah, the crescent always happens during the daytime. It should.
During the daytime. And round
Once
the
it hits
back.
50, you can never see it at midnight.
What I need you to do now, what I need you to do is do a waltz around the light while you are, yeah. I need you to do a waltz around the light, if you know what I mean, because the Earth and the Moon spins at nearly the same rate. It takes 28 days for that Moon to get around the Earth, or you know what I mean. So that's the bit that I'm trying to get my head around, is that bit, because you're doing a whole month in a turnaround there.
Slow it down, but Zach, can you set up a gibbous moon for us?
Right there.
Yeah. So
here, I'll get it even closer. See, you can still see the marshmallow where it's shadowed.
So you can see, look, Rob,
that's daylight. That's daylight. He's got one, hasn't he?
No, that's the.
No, I'm facing away.
That's away from daylight.
I'm in between.
Can you see where his head's facing? His head, i.e., the position of the Earth where he's on the Earth, means it's night time.
Yep.
So he can see. Right now, keep the moon, the marshmallow, where it is. And what Zach's going to do is turn his head around like he's possessed, so it becomes daytime for him. How can he see that gibbous moon in the daytime visual horizon he has? Bring the marshmallow back round to you now, Zach, and look what happens to the marshmallow. turns into a crescent. Now, if he turns his head to midnight and leaves it in the crescent, how can he ever see that crescent at night?
Yeah, all right. Right.
We did all those freaking
Yeah,
slides, and we only needed a marshmallow. That's class, Zach.
That was very good. But I think we should go back and look at Walt's video again and pause it when he's at the gibbous and the crescent. Is that possible? Oh, no, you've got to flick 100 buttons now, haven't you?
Yeah, but I can do it now because I've out.
I think that was awesome how you explained that, Adam, and the marshmallow. Inspired.
Can you see Walt's video now?
Because you can see where Walt's head is in position to the light, which you couldn't see with Zach just then. It was a little bit difficult to see when you're facing away from the light and towards the light.
You guys
Walt's
see
got
it?
the picture in picture. Yeah, we can see it. Okay.
At the beginning here, I'm rambling on about how you see a midnight full moon. That's why I keep showing it in the dark right there. So, but I couldn't get the audio to work right at all. I'm going to redo it better with audio.
It'll be interesting to see the comments because hopefully some Globers will have some explanation for that.
Do we have a call online?
I've been asking for it for 3 years, mate. Do we what?
Is the flat
Sorry?
line open with Josh not being here? Is the flat line not running tonight?
No idea, mate.
I've not got that kit. No, that's only Josh. I don't know.
Yeah,
Unless Walt's got it. I don't know.
But I'll tell you what, anyone who wants to call in next week with their example of a gibbous moon during the day, showing us how they can do this, feel free. Because I've been asking for 3 years now that just to provide a three circle diagram showing a gibbous moon during the day and a crescent moon during the night.
Yeah, Travis, the plain truth, was trying to explain this to me a little ways back. And it just didn't click, you know? It just didn't.
I don't know why it doesn't click. Do you know, can you put your finger on it? Because it's one of those things.
No, it should. Well, it's because when you said directly during midday or midnight, that really sunk it in. And the fact that it doesn't happen all the time. This isn't something that happens every month. It's kind of like an eclipse. It only happens once in a great while.
Yeah, this year I've got March 15th, May 10th, and June 8th. And then the next one, I think, is March next year. But it was a case of literally finding every gibbous and every crescent moon and then looking it up on Mooncalc or whatever and seeing whether it was going to be visible within, you know, the midnight or the midday time, because I didn't want to bring this out until I had 2 examples of that people could go away and watch. Like on March, I get confused. I think on March is a gibbous moon at 12 midday.
Day, yes, sir.
And on May 10th, it's a crescent moon visible at 12 midnight. And admittedly, Rob, that is probably for the Northern Hemisphere. I don't know. I haven't put the hours in the South, but you're more than welcome to, because they will come around at your time as well. And if they don't, that's even more anomalous. Why? But I can certainly show that they do in the North.
Just like the eclipses, not everybody sees it, you know?
Could be.
Only certain parts.
Well, I mean, I think it's understandable because Australia is at least 11 to 9 hours ahead or behind, whichever way you want to look at it, the UK. But I've shown you can see it in the UK, in Iceland, in East and West America. So it's simply a case of going through Mooncalc or whatever and finding out what day and month of the year it will be visible at those extremes for you. In reality, this shouldn't be visible at, say a crescent moon shouldn't be visible at 11 or 10 or 9 or 8 o'clock at night, really. But 12 o'clock at night is the absolute that it shouldn't be seen. And the same with the gibbous during the day. It shouldn't be seen at 12, 11, 10, 9 o'clock in the morning. It just shouldn't be seen, knowing what your visual horizon is. This is why we're calling it impossible moon phases. Sorry.
All right, John, I'm going to have to duck off, but yeah, that's something to think about. I'm going to have a big, long think about that and try and recreate it here later on and get my head around it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, try it. Dark.
All right, yeah.
Play with the balls. Don't go blind. Take it easy, Rob. Really good to have you back on the show, mate.
Yeah.
I love you.
Right.
Hate you. Love you. Hate you.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. Glad you're here. See you in 6 months.
All right. And thanks to all everyone in chat too. Good day. Thanks, mate. Bye.
See you later, bro.